Liking women is a beta thing, and today you'll understand why. Oh, honey, but I like her. It'll only make you do something stupid. You need to understand once and for all that what you feel for a woman doesn't matter at all. Not to me, not to her, and much less should it matter to you. Because when your feelings become a compass, you stop being in charge. You become the one being commanded. You become the servant of your own neediness. And worse, you hand that power over to someone who didn't even ask for it. Here's the brutal truth. She feels more attraction when you seem immune to what she causes. And this, in the eyes of most men, seems cruel. It seems inhumane, but it's exactly the opposite. It's the only way she feels she's in the presence of someone greater than her own desire. Someone who approves of herself and therefore doesn't need to be accepted. You grew up hearing that you needed to be gentle, delicate, pleasant, but what no one told you is that these same qualities, when fraught with expectation and need, are read by her as weakness. It's like Nietzsche said, "What is evil? Everything that originates from weakness." And this kind of kindness smells of fear. Fear of being rejected. Fear of not being liked. Fear of being who you are, unapologetically. And that, my friend, is the opposite of what attracts. Seduction begins when a woman can't read you, when she doesn't know if you like her or not. When instead of trying to win her over, you observe her as if you're deciding if she deserves to be won over. This creates a paradox. The discomfort she feels attracts her more than the comfort you offer. Sounds cruel, maybe, but what's truly cruel is what she feels for 90% of men: indifference. And it's not her fault. It's just that the guy who tries to be the nicest, the kindest, the most understanding is always the most disposable. He doesn't pose a challenge. He doesn't represent dominance. He doesn't pose any emotional risk. And if there's no risk, there's no excitement. If there's no tension, there's no desire. Robert Greene already explained this in The Art of Seduction. The seducer who offers too much pleasure, too much security, too much predictability is the one who lasts the shortest. Desire feeds on doubt, and the most attractive man is the one who keeps a woman doubting not about his worth, but about how much she truly affects him. This video is about that. About the power of approving of yourself, even if it means she feels a little uncomfortable in your presence, because the discomfort she feels doesn't come from a lack of respect. It comes from a lack of submission. You don't bend. You don't adapt. And this, while hurting her ego, activates the most primal desire she hides from everyone, to be dominated by an unshakable man. You might even think, but isn't it cruel to instill insecurity in a woman I like? And I ask you, does she hesitate to make you feel like trash when she wants to test your worth? When she ignores your messages? When she responds curtly? When she treats you like just another guy, just to see if you despair? She doesn't hesitate. And do you know why? Because she's learned, even if unconsciously, that the power in the game of seduction has always been on the side of those who don't show much interest. You need to turn this around. Cruelty here is just your ego's name for the discomfort of stepping out of the role of a tail-wagging puppy. But on the other side, what seems cruel is what ultimately makes you desirable. A woman doesn't want an emotional supporting character. She wants the protagonist, and the protagonist never seeks approval. He is the approval. If you have the courage to listen to the end, I'll show you exactly how to become that man. Not for show, not for games, but because you finally understood that female desire is not activated by your kindness, but by your selective indifference. She doesn't want an emotional sidekick. She wants the protagonist, and the protagonist never seeks approval. He is approved. But the problem is, you've always been trained to be the opposite. The nice guy, the good guy, the one who believes the nicer he is, the more he'll be loved. What no one told you is that this model of the gentle, understanding, giving man is socially valued but sexually ignored. You're hailed as a great catch by women who don't desire you. And that's where the invisible mistake arises, because he doesn't hurt immediately. He seems right, he seems fair, he seems moral, but the game of attraction isn't about morality. It's about power dynamics. And the moment you bend over backwards to gain female approval, you sign your sentence of invisibility. Her gaze changes, the tension disappears, respect evaporates, and all that's left is a nice, predictable guy she'll never see as a man. You know what I'm talking about. Every man who's ever fallen for a woman before she's truly interested knows that emptiness. You try to do everything right. Listen, compliment, Text carefully. Ask how she's doing. Worry about sounding rude. You think you're connecting, but you're just digging your grave in the friend zone. She smiles, thanks you, tells you you're amazing, and the next day, she disappears. Or worse, she calls you crying over another guy who never treated her half as sweetly. This guy, he's what you'd call cruel, arrogant, cold, but he's the one who occupies the space you wanted to occupy. He didn't ask permission. He didn't apologize for who he is. And because of that, she trembles when he looks at her. It hurts because you believe she should desire you because you're better than him. But she doesn't desire the best. She desires the strongest. And, in terms of attraction, strength isn't muscle. It's the absence of need. Here's the root of the error. You start from the idea that you need to win a woman's affection. And every time you start from need, you've already lost because need reveals weakness. It signals, I need you to feel good about myself. And her instincts reject that, not because she's bad, but because she's biologically programmed to be attracted to men who don't need her, men who already feel complete. Psychology explains this as interdependence theory. The power in any relationship lies with the one who can walk away. And when you show that you depend on her reaction to feel validated, you lose that power. It's like giving up the crown before being recognized as king. You're not being kind. You're abdicating the throne. And she feels it. Robert Greene speaks of this when he mentions the error of over-availability. The seducer, who is always there, ready, willing, transparent, loses the aura that creates desire. He's no longer a mystery. He becomes a resource, a support, an emotional therapist, but not an exciting man. Have you ever seen an empty throne? It's fascinating because it suggests power. But a throne occupied by someone begging to be accepted is just pathetic. A woman desires a man who observes her with a critical eye, who talks to her not trying to please, but testing whether she's worth the effort, who makes her laugh not because he's memorized jokes, but because he knows how to guide the conversation without fear of silence, who touches without asking, speaks with conviction, and unapologetically expresses his opinions. This man conveys a silent message. You can like me or not. I'm still the man I am. That's strength. That's sexy. And that's exactly what you hide when you try to be too nice. The invisible error happens in the small gestures, in the extra emoji, in the good morning message you know she didn't reply to yesterday, in the excessive compliments, in the fear of disagreeing, in the worry about what she'll think of every word that comes out of your mouth. All of this builds the image of a man who doesn't approve of himself. And if you don't even approve of yourself, why should she? The curious thing is that when you act like this, you're trying to be the exact opposite of the cruel guy. But that's precisely what turns you into someone emotionally irrelevant. Because a woman feels, even if she doesn't rationalize it, if I'm all he needs, then he has nothing but me. Therefore, he's small. It's not a conscious decision. It's pure instinct. An instinct isn't convinced by sweet words. It responds to signs of power or lack thereof. Then, you enter that tragic cycle. The more she distances herself, the more you try, the more she ignores you, the more you insist. You want to show that you're different, that you're trustworthy, that you're present. But all she sees is a guy who needs her to feel like a person, and that kills any chance of sexual tension. Your effort turns into distress, your dedication into desperation. And what little desire she might have felt dissolves in the lukewarm water of predictability. The solution isn't to become the idiot bad boy. It's not to become a jerk, but rather it's about doing something that seems impossible to many. Stop trying to be chosen. Your value needs to come from within and be non-negotiable. When you enter a conversation with a woman with the attitude of someone who already knows she's enough, you change the dance. Now, it's no longer her deciding if you're good enough. It's you deciding if she's more than just looks, if she has substance, if she's worth your time. And ironically, it's at this moment that she starts fighting for your attention. Because now you're rare, you're scarce, you're a challenge. And challenges are irresistible, especially when the man isn't playing hard to get, but is actually difficult. Hard to impress, hard to manipulate, hard to destabilize. This is what separates the seducer from the desperate. The seducer doesn't beg, he imposes presence. And if she feels uncomfortable with that, perfect. This is the beginning of the reversal. It's the first step toward making your look have more impact than the previous guy's compliment, so that your silence speaks louder than a long text on WhatsApp. so that your existence weighs more than the efforts of 1,000 good guys. And then the tables are turned. You start to notice that she's watching you more than you're watching her, that she's searching for your eyes, that she's trying to impress you, that she changes her tone when she talks to you. And all this because, for the first time, you weren't trying to please. You weren't being nice with a hidden agenda. You were simply you. Of course, many guys will continue to think this is cruel, that it's ego, that it's cold, but these guys will continue to live in the cycle of rejection because the world rewards those who don't beg for approval. As Ortega Gasset said, the combination of fascination and surrender is the model of all seduction, and there is no surrender where there is no fascination. And there is no fascination when you show yourself completely surrendered before the game even begins. But perhaps the greatest paradox lies here. It's when you stop trying to win a woman over that you become the man who wins her over. Because now she doesn't know what you're going to do. She doesn't know if you like her. She doesn't know if she'll see you again. And this doubt, this discomfort, this tension, which the nice guy tries to avoid, is exactly what ignites her desire. And this is where most men fail. Because the moment they feel they're losing a woman, they rush back to the behavior that drives her away. They go back to over-complimenting, texting late at night, asking if she's mad. You break the spell. You beg for scraps when you could be the feast, and all because you can't bear the discomfort of appearing disinterested. But the man who understands this, the man who holds back the discomfort, who resists the temptation to explain himself, who observes without anxiety, that man becomes dangerous because now she can't ignore him. She wants answers, she wants attention, she wants approval, and maybe she even wants love. But the kind of love that only comes after admiration, and admiration only comes after respect, and respect only comes when you refuse to become the nice guy who does everything for her. That's the game. Whoever approves first loses, and this is where the dynamic changes. Because if you uphold this new standard without wavering, without justifying yourself, without giving in to fear, then you begin to see a new kind of woman emerge. Not the one who chooses you because you are sweet, but the one who fights for the chance to be chosen by you. But that's just the beginning, because most men can understand this game intellectually. They listen, agree, feel the impact of logic, and even repeat, "I need to approve myself before seeking approval." But on the battlefield, when they encounter a woman who truly stirs their instincts, everything falls apart. The rational mind is hijacked by biology, and what was firmness becomes performance. What was conviction becomes rehearsal. What was posture becomes seduction. This is where the real turning point comes, the power she didn't expect. Because it's one thing to understand the concept of self-approval, it's quite another to experience this state as an internal standard, not as a disguise. The man who stops trying to please isn't the one who plays games, responds after 3 hours, or pretends to be busy. He's simply busy being himself. And this, oddly enough, causes a kind of tension that women aren't prepared to feel because almost no man truly sustains it. She doesn't expect you to ignore that easy compliment. She doesn't expect you to hold her gaze when she dangles sensuality as bait. She doesn't expect you to laugh at a provocation without trying to fight back. She expects you to react like everyone else, to get excited, to show it, to chase, to show how much you like her. But when that doesn't happen, she collapses internally because suddenly you represent something that threatens the core of the game, the emotional control that has always been in her hands. The philosopher Pascal said that the heart has reasons that reason itself does not know, and that's why she can't explain why she starts thinking about you more than she should. She can't rationalize why she's bothered by your calm. Why? After seeing you for 10 minutes, she feels like she has something to prove. This is the effect of the self-approved man. He activates her field of insecurity without having to do anything offensive or explicit. He simply exists in his truth, unshakable, impervious, unforgivably whole. But this is where many get lost because they confuse this state with rudeness, coldness, or disdain. They think that being self-approved means acting superior or arrogant, and it isn't. In fact, it's the opposite. A man who truly approves of himself doesn't need to devalue anyone. He just doesn't play the game of trying to be chosen. He doesn't lick anyone's ass, and he doesn't demand that anyone lick his ass. He just walks. He speaks firmly, he laughs with pleasure, he disagrees with elegance. He observes without anxiety, and all this without apologizing for being alive. Do you know what this creates in her? A delicious discomfort. Because she begins to experience something rare. Doubt. Did he like me? Did he want to see me again? Am I being interesting enough? This doubt isn't born because you were a jerk, but because you weren't predictable, because you didn't do what 99% of guys would do in your place, because you looked at her not with the eyes of someone hypnotized, but with the eyes of someone choosing. This is the origin of power that seems cruel. You create an atmosphere in which she has to fight for your attention. And this isn't malice, it's justice, it's balance. Because for the first time, she's experiencing the same emotional discomfort that so many men experience every day. The difference with you, it doesn't come from dirty games or manipulation. It comes from your emotional integrity. But to sustain this, you need to kill the approval junkie inside you, because it will scream, it will sabotage, it will ask you to text, it will try to rationalize that being honest is better than holding back. It will make excuses to break the silence. It will whisper in your ear that you might miss your chance if you don't act now. And if you listen to this emotional parasite, you return to the cycle of mediocrity. You return to being the nice guy. And you lose the only advantage that truly sets you above others, the mystery of your own strength. This is where the technique few know, the inverted mirror, comes in. Imagine this. Instead of trying to show value, you simply observe what she's trying to show you. You don't respond with compliments, but with analytical silence. You don't deliver charisma, but you offer presence. You don't perform sympathy, you simply are. And in that moment, her brain goes into a tailspin, because now she's seeing herself reflected in you. And because you're calm, centered, and selective, she starts to wonder if she's being enough. This technique turns any interaction into an invisible field of attraction. Because you're not competing with other guys, you're not even playing the same game. While they beg for validation, you send a subtle signal. Be amazing or I'll have to go my way. And the craziest part, this activates the female competitive instinct. She wants to prove she's special. She wants to win your approval. She wants to shine in your presence. This kind of emotional tension generates a thrill that modern relationships no longer offer, because the world tells her she's amazing just by existing. Guys like her comment, compliment her, text her, drool, but you don't. You observe. And because of that, you attract her. But be careful. This power comes at a price. It requires that you not depend on the outcome, that you be ready for her to walk away, that you accept the discomfort of being misunderstood, of appearing cold, of being seen as difficult, because you won't mold yourself to someone else's desire. You won't lower the volume of your presence to make her comfortable. And yes, that can be read as cruelty, but that's exactly what fascinates her. It's like Baudrillard said, the object of desire is not what shines, but what escapes. You become attractive not because you please, but because you escape the norm, because you break predictability, because you're the only one she can't control. This is the new archetype of the desired man. Not the clever, not the guru with the lyrics, but the man who doesn't need to play games because he's already won inside. The one with values, a mission, a vision, and a purpose. The one who isn't available to everyone, who doesn't have time to explain who he is, who doesn't lose sleep over a dirty look. And the most beautiful thing, when this type of man treats a woman with affection, attention, and respect, it carries weight. It has value because it's not common, because it's not automatic, because it comes from a choice, not a need. And it hits her like an emotional punch because she feels this man isn't trying to impress me, and yet I want to be seen by him. There's nothing cruel about this power, but it feels cruel because it shifts the game, because it takes control out of the hands of those who have always dominated, because it transforms. She's too beautiful into, is she interesting enough? And this reversal changes everything. You're no longer trying to please, you're testing. You're not trying to be accepted, you're evaluating. You're no longer trying to enter her life. You're deciding if she fits into yours. And when you reach this state, her desire becomes urgent. She wants to see you again. She wants to be noticed. She wants approval because now she feels like she might lose you. And female desire is always born from the fear of loss. But not everyone can reach this level, because this level of self-approval requires something most don't have: inner peace and external conviction. It's the paradox of the true seducer. He's firm without being rude, direct without being blunt, intense without being needy, and above all, he's dangerous without lifting a finger. And that's why when you stop trying to please, she stops ignoring you, because what seemed like cruelty was just you finally being the kind of man she never had the courage to admit she wanted. And then a new question arises in her heart, and it's this question that changes everything. How do I get him to approve? But you only reap this reward if you know how to bear the weight of the next step. Because it is at this point, when her desire has already been activated, that the real game begins. The game of complete reversal, where now she is the one who fears judgment. And this is what leads us to the most dangerous chapter of this journey. And that is what takes us to the most dangerous chapter of this journey. Because when you reach the point where she wants your approval, everything changes. The game changes. The rules are different. And now, if you don't know how to play, if you lose yourself in your own power, if you sabotage your presence for the sake of a compliment or a kiss, you give away the empire you've built. Because the hardest part isn't attracting her. The hardest part is sustaining the tension that attracted her. She starts texting for no reason, laughing louder, touching your arm, seeming present, intense, enchanted. But if you respond to this with thirst, with anxiety, in a rush to reciprocate, it's over. Because her desire only remains as long as she feels she's still being tested, that you're still a mystery, that she hasn't won yet. The most common mistake men make at this stage is to relax, to think, now I've conquered her. And at that very moment, he loses everything, because female desire isn't a finish line. It's a flame that needs wind. It needs instability. It needs doubt. She doesn't want guarantees. She wants excitement. She wants to know that even after a kiss, sex, or an intense night, she still needs to remain interesting to you. When the reversal happens and she starts seeking your approval, it's because you've become scarce. And scarcity in seduction is gold. Her desire isn't born from certainty, but from the possibility of loss. From the feeling that you don't need her, that you're still the same man with or without her. And that even if you like her, you're still selective. This is the phase of irreversible reversal, because if you maintain this level, if you don't go back to being the nice guy the moment she gives in, if you keep your essence centered, then she can't go back to the old pattern. She can't treat you like a random person anymore. She can't use you as an emotional spare tire anymore because now you're occupying the space of the man she needs to impress and there's no going back. Do you know what happens when a woman starts fighting for your approval? She starts to transform. She stops playing with generic charm. She starts revealing vulnerabilities, demonstrating respect, and taking charge of her behavior. Because now you've become the benchmark of value. She looks at you with that glow that only appears when a woman feels true admiration. And that's rare. Because women may desire instinctively, but they only admire through conquest. You achieve this not by conforming to her desires, but by maintaining yours. And here comes one of the hardest truths that few have the courage to admit. Women are selective, but they submit to the man they can't decipher. And when you become that man, she starts to wonder, does he see me as enough? It's this question that ignites the flame of surrender. It's not love, it's not affection, it's not pretty texts, it's the doubt of recognition. She may be used to being idolized, to being flattered, to being treated like a prize. But with you, none of that works because you're not there to offer adoration. You're there to live your truth. And if she fits within that, great. If not, you move on. And what seems like coldness is actually the greatest psychological aphrodisiac there is. The absence of dependence. Nietzsche said, "He who has a why can face anyhow." And the man who has a why greater than female approval is the most seductive man there is because he doesn't play to please. He lives to express. And for that reason, he is followed. At this point, something powerful happens. She begins to adjust. She begins to think before she speaks. She begins to measure what she posts. She begins to consider how you will react. And now she is in the role you occupied before, looking for signs, seeking confirmation, seeking space. You have become her mirror. And the image she sees will either generate total surrender or frustration, but not indifference. And this is where many men fail. Upon seeing this change, they get excited. They want to compensate. They want to say that she did it, that now everything is okay, that she is enough. But by doing so, they kill the mystery. They kill the tension. They kill the charm. Because a woman needs to feel that her admiration isn't yet enough to win you over completely. Yes, you can like her, you can admire her, you can get involved, But never give up your structure. Never give up your essence. Because from that moment on, the game of seduction becomes the game of permanence. And the one who remains is the man who never stops being himself, even when he loves. The reversal is irreversible, because now she knows you don't depend on her. That you can like her, but you don't beg. That you can want her, but you won't lose yourself. That you can give in, but only to the point where you don't betray your truth. This kind of man doesn't have to be handsome or rich or popular. This kind of man is rare, and because of that, he's unforgettable. He's the man who can give affection and disappear, who can listen and disagree, who can praise and criticize, who can love and walk away if disrespected. He's the man who, no matter how desired, never sells himself. And that's the most seductive presence a man can build. She feels, she respects, she fears, and deep down, that's exactly what she was hoping to find. Someone who would make her fight. Because the truth is this: the woman who doesn't fight for you doesn't value you. The woman who doesn't need to think to win you over doesn't respect you. The woman who feels she's already won you over doesn't feel she needs to keep you. And when you give yourself without her having to make an effort, you become disposable. Inversion protects you from that. But it only works if you understand that your worth doesn't depend on anyone's validation. If you accept that you'll be seen as cruel by those who can't stand your firmness. If you have the courage to stand your ground even when your heart wants to give in, and most importantly, if you have the discipline to maintain the structure after she falls in love, because many men can attract. Some can maintain the tension, but few, very few, can remain the same man who attracted her even when she's already completely invested. These few are the ones who master the game, and maybe now you're one of them. And if this video gave you a glimpse into a new version of what you could be, the man that has one-night stands or effortlessly makes a connection on the first date, then pay attention. We created 9 pre-date hacks, your pre-date guide to getting laid, my 10-minute game changer to end disappointment. This ebook kills your pre-date panic with 9 proven hacks. Flip that shaky mindset into king-level confidence, magnetize her attention, and walk in ready all in under 10 minutes. Say goodbye to feeling disappointment and hello to rejection-proof swagger, crafted for guys who demand results. Inside, you will find practical steps and exercises, such as a 1-minute mindset reset to ditch doubt, a 2-minute style blitz to look unstoppable, flirty openers to break the ice, and bonus moves to seal the deal. No more scrambling, download it to your phone for instant access, perfect for beating those awkward silences or refreshing your Casanova flair anytime. As a bonus, the ebook includes audio files discussing topics such as number 1 thing men should do on a first date, according to psychology. No BS dating advice for men. Most men blow the first date. Ready to rise and seduce women? Grab it now, link in the description. Download, level up, and transform your game. If you want to support the channel, smash that like button. See you in the next video.